We're here again with John Guidry.
Hello.
For another episode of Flight Tales. Ooh. Ooh. Yes. So John's been around for a very long time. I remember John showing up the very first student at Owens Flight Training when I started.
Yep. We didn't have an office.
Yes.
Didn't have much of anything. In fact, when I first heard your name, you didn't even have a plane.
Oh, really?
But you had a plan.
How did you get interested in flying first?
So my dad was in the Air Force. So he was stationed in Thailand. He was an avionics tech.
Oh, okay.
And he did a lot of work in the Air Force. So aviation's been something that has always been part of me growing up. We would go to air shows. We would spend time looking at aviation museums everywhere we went. We would always try and find these different aviation things to go and do. My grandfather, even before that, was part of the Army Air Services teaching electronics down in Biloxi. So, I mean, it's always been around. It's been something that we've been doing my entire life.
Yeah.
And growing up, I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to get into flying, but I knew it was something that I wanted to do. After high school, I took a trip down to Australia, and I knew at that point for certain I needed to get going on getting into flying. Just seeing the planes in motion and experiencing all of that, it really got me going on wanting to fly. So still took a few years, but
yeah, because you were in college when you started.
Well, no, I dropped out at that point.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to tell us about that, but
yeah,
right.
So my first attempt at college did not go well. Let's just say that.
Well, when did you decide that you were gonna I'm gonna pursue this? Because you weren't in high school.
I was working at Stellar, and I was starting to see a lot of different things happening in aviation. It was like 2011, and things were starting to move. There were some changes going on in the industry. It was in the news, and I was like, all right, this is probably the time to start getting going. It was right at the very early stages that you started to hear like the pilot shortage coming up, and so I was like, all right, well, that sounds like a good time to start working on things and getting into an airplane. And I was talking with some people at work, and one of those people happened to be one of your friends, Jared.
Yep, he hasn't gone fly with me yet.
No, he has not.
I don't know if he watches this podcast, but he still needs to come flying.
Yeah. So Jared had been talking to you recently, and you had been looking at getting a hold of one of the planes from NSU when they ended their aviation program.
Oh, yeah.
And
golly, I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Yeah.
I thought when you started, I couldn't remember, but I thought when you started, I had just gotten the plane. But like I was talking to you before I got the plane.
Yeah. Or I was at least talking to Jared, and you were talking to Jared about it.
Okay.
So it was basically the plane came down, you won the bid, you got the plane, you brought it down, and then I don't know, where did we meet for the first lesson?
I remember I had it in Lafayette for a little while.
Yeah, we had a couple lessons up here in Lafayette.
At the general aviation parking, free parking. That was only a month though, I think.
Yeah, it was only like 2 or 3 lessons that we did up here, and that before we moved down to New Iberia.
Yeah, at the time I think it was a little more easier to operate out of or start out. But we went to Subway to do ground?
Yeah. Yeah, we did one ground at the Subway on Pinhook and Surrey. Or no, not Pinhook. Surrey and the Thruway. Right there at that little shell.
Yeah. And then it's still there.
Yep. And then a few weeks later there was another ground lesson at the Subway on the highway out to the airport in New Iberia.
Oh yeah. This is how you fly a plane, and we'd write on a napkin.
Yep. True story.
Yeah.
So we were definitely figuring some things out.
Yes.
In those days.
I kept the plane in New Iberia, but we didn't. I didn't have an office yet.
Yeah.
We were right there on the Seaway side.
Yep.
Where they had
They had some chains bolted down to the concrete.
Yeah, and I tied the plane down right there.
So there wasn't really anybody else flying out of that side at that point.
They had Robert flying back then. When did you get your private?
I'll say it was June of 2012. So it took me a little while to get it, but I was only flying like once, maybe twice a week. It was definitely tough. I had to spend a lot of time studying and keeping things as fresh as I could.
Yeah. Didn't you have a simulator too?
Yeah.
You would practice on and stuff?
I had this the Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'd go home and run through doing different things in there and trying out different things. So that definitely helped keep it fresh. I had been messing around with the flight simulator for a few years before we started flying too.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that helped, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps keep everything fresh.
Yeah.
I know when people do that, it helps them whenever they don't in between flights.
Yeah.
So in June of 2012, got your private.
Yep.
And then I think you were at UL then, or?
Yeah, I'd started back up at UL, changed majors again, and started back up. Much better results from attending UL.
So you were skipping out before?
No, that's the really sad part.
You just wouldn't even go to class.
I went the first right out of high school when I was going to UL. I attended every class. I was there physically, but mentally I had checked out. Wasn't paying attention to what was actually going on. So I had some very good teachers in high school that kept me on track and focused, and they were very patient with me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the skill set to do that for myself when I first went to college. But yeah, so after getting my private, I started back up at UL. I also started trying to work on my instrument.
We did it in the 152?
Yep, we did probably 3/4 of that instrument training in the 152.
Yeah, with the one VOR and the 6-pack.
And no GPS.
No GPS, just 6.
It was...
No glass or none of that. 6
it taught me a lot.
Yep.
Definitely learned a lot doing it that way.
So, you didn't finish. Is that...
No, I did not finish.
Because we couldn't finish.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of a combination of things happening in... We couldn't do the check ride in the 152 because it didn't have what it needed to.
Yeah.
And then I also went to take my written and did not pass it.
Oh.
So...
For the check rides, do you always have to provide your own plane?
Yeah.
Or is there a place you can go where there's planes you can use for check rides? How does that work?
You always have to provide the airplane.
Yeah. How the DPE gets to you is up to them, because Daryl came for my private.
Oh, yeah. Daryl was, he was the examiner that did your private.
Uh-huh.
And that was, he's out of Houma, and so he'd fly his 310 up
Was that
from
the same
Houma.
310 that we did? No? Okay.
No, because he had a red one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that one had bad corrosion or something, and they scrapped it.
Oh, man. It was pretty. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes the examiner will come to you.
Yeah.
But you have to still provide the airplane, and then sometimes you have to go to the examiner. Sometimes they won't come to you. So if they live somewhere else, then you got to go to them. You still have to provide that. So you got to fly the plane. You've been flying all the way to wherever they're at. Either the instructor goes with you, or the instructor has to sign you off to go to the whatever airport. Yeah, you have soloed already, and you can solo cross country. So we can sign the logbook and say, yeah, he can go here. Hopefully he passes his check ride, because if he doesn't pass, he needs another endorsement to come back
home. Yeah.
So it's better when the instructor goes with him.
Yeah. But yeah, so I didn't pass my instrument written the first time I took it. And it was about halfway through the semester at UL. And I basically had the realization that I couldn't do both.
Yeah. And you disappeared.
Flying was definitely the easier thing to drop.
I didn't see you for a few for a few years.
Yeah. I got my results though. I got finished at UL, graduated technically with honors.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo!
I
You went from like failing out to honors.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was initially on academic suspension and then graduated with honors. Was that 8 years later?
So what year was that? Do you remember?
2016 is when I graduated.
Okay.
So
I bought the 172 in 2014, I think. Was 752.
yeah, and
then
I kind of
upgraded.
popped in here and there.
Yeah,
I remember.
I thought you were flying a little bit, or I don't know if you were flying or if you were just coming to check on stuff. I don't remember.
I was flying a little bit. I was also trying to essentially bum rides with some of the old guys in New Iberia.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you did come and hang out with those guys.
Yeah, that was not always the most useful way to spend my time, but occasionally it got me in an airplane and we had a good time. Yeah, so I kind of popped in here and there, tried to keep up with currency as best I could, but for the most part it was very spotty and random.
Yeah.
Towards the end of 2019, I started to get my act together again and gave you a call and started to get back into finishing out the instrument, working towards commercial.
So 2016 was when you graduated.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when you had taken your written test, I guess around 2012 or 2013?
Yeah, it was like 13, 14, something like that.
Okay. So I got 752 probably in I think it was June of 2014. And then it took me a little while to upgrade it with the GPS and stuff.
Yeah, because I was scrolling through my phone a while back and I found some pictures from when you had just gotten it.
Oh, okay.
It still had all the original stuff, all the radios and all that were all the old stuff.
The ADF. And,
yeah.
I don't know exactly when I upgraded, put the GPS and stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say it was like the next year. Maybe 6 months later, I can't remember. Had to do it because of the GPS is the way.
Yeah. And I mean, the ADSB requirement was coming up too, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. And then I think you had all the hours, right?
For instrument, yeah, I pretty much had the hours done. I needed to get basically going in the plane again.
Yeah.
But it wasn't very much before I had check ride for instrument. And that was February of 2020.
Oh yeah, that slowed you down.
Yeah. That definitely put a
damper on everybody.
Right. Once things started moving again, very quickly got up to commercial and CFI not long after that.
Yeah, you had got your CFI and then you've been teaching here for a while now.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah, I guess I would put it 22 then.
Yeah.
I definitely made it harder on myself in the beginning than it had to be.
Yeah.
Because I was also still working
a
full-time job in addition to trying to teach here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were still working at Stellar.
Yep. So
yeah. And you probably lost out on some students.
I definitely lost out on some students.
Yeah. Because you were, you'd leave at 4 o'clock, I think, to go to work at Stellar.
Yeah.
In the afternoon.
Initially, it was, I would leave it at noon, starting out.
Oh, okay.
And then after a little while, I got to a point that I was losing out on more here than I was gaining at Stellar. And so I dropped down to part-time at Stellar. And then not long after that, I caught up to that same point again.
Yeah.
I was losing out here because I was leaving to go to Stellar and finished out the year there and came do this full time at the beginning of the year this year.
Yeah. So that's, especially during the summer, because you can, as long as it's daylight, people can fly and most people get done with work at around 4 or 5 and then they come here and then they'll fly until it gets dark. So,
yep. So that was a lot of what I was missing out on. I'd have a discovery flight on the weekend and people were like, oh yeah, I'd like to fly after work. And like, well, sorry, I'm not available. Finished out the year at Stellar just because it was getting into Christmas time and the area I was in was already shorthanded. So I finished out that and made the jump over and been sweating
every day.
Hardly spending more time in a plane than out.
Yeah.
More than 800 hours in the last 12 months, and it's going up still.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we are definitely doing a lot of flying.
Yes. We got and then we got you on the Cirrus.
Yep. So that was a really good program. I've definitely enjoyed, especially when it's the last flight of the day, getting to jump into that Cirrus and cranking up that AC.
Yep. The nice AC.
Yeah.
I think we're going to change the whole fleet to AC. AC only. Yeah. What do you plan on doing in the future? Fly a plane with AC, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that does appeal quite a bit.
Yes.
I've been kind of kicking around the idea of, for a long time, I'd been thinking I would go to a charter service like NetJets or something like that and do that sort of flying. Smaller planes, more personable interaction.
So you're not looking...
I don't know. I haven't completely ruled it out, but I've definitely, like, as I've looked into it more and more, I'm finding a few more of the downsides that could potentially happen with the charter style service. Some of the services allow passengers to smoke while in flight. All right. Not really a deal breaker, but definitely less than ideal, in my opinion. Occasionally having to empty the onboard bathroom.
Yeah, I had to do that at Acadian.
Yeah.
It's a bucket.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, it
wasn't an open bucket.
I never had, it's not an open bucket. It's got the little flap there that you push. But like, it wasn't enjoyable, but it wasn't anything really bad either.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
But like the bigger, like NetJets planes might have, I mean, the bigger the plane is, like the Learjet had a hookup on the back.
Yeah.
So you could just
plug it in the plane.
Plug it in and it sucks it all out and puts it in a tank and then the line guy does that.
Yeah. So
you don't have to touch it.
Yeah.
Just ask for lab service.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Not bad.
But anyway, I'm still kind of poking around at it.
Hadn't figured it out yet. No.
Yeah. But and then the airlines, obviously, the pilots don't have anything to do with any of that.
Yeah. You don't even talk to the passengers.
Yeah, you don't even got to deal with them if you don't want to.
Flight attendant's job.
Yep. So it's, I mean, kind of still looking at both sides of it, but.
Well, the nice thing is you can kind of do anything you want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of way the hiring has been going lately.
Mm-hmm.
You can go anywhere, fly anything. You show up with 1,500 hours and multi-engine. You're pretty much ready to go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see what happens.
I don't know either. So on to the airlines.
Maybe.
We'll
see.
Do you have one that you're aiming for, or you're just kind of like...
I've been kind of looking the most at Delta, but I've been kind of looking around at all of them too.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years or so, you've heard about all these several airlines that have been out there offering all these massive hiring bonuses. In one way, it's, it's nice if you can get that and get on board, get going with them. But for a long-term kind of thing, it feels like a move of desperation, kind of.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like the company is very stable when they have to throw out all the big money to get people on board. And over the last little bit, like Endeavor and Delta, they haven't really been offering those sorts of bonuses for just being hired, which to me, in my head, says that they're in a better position overall for the long term.
Yeah. Yeah, Delta's a pretty good company.
Yeah.
I think. I have a friend that works at Delta.
Yeah.
He's supposed to give us our Delta card.
Yeah, little like trading cards that they give out.
Trading cards, yeah.
Jonathan Johnson, or Titan's dad.
Oh, yeah,
he
that's
flies
right.
for Delta too.
Oh.
We should see if we can get a card from him.
Can he sign it?
Probably.
Like a autograph?
Yeah, I'm not in any rush to go though. This has definitely been a good challenge teaching.
I mean, even if you tell everybody, if you don't use it, it just makes you a better pilot to get the rating, because
you learn a lot more about how far into aviation you can go. You learn a surprising amount of psychology too.
Yes. Yeah, we're psychologists, lawyers,
doctors.
I guess we're doctors.
And occasionally we get in airplanes and go flying.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we're doctors.
We got to know a lot of medical facts.
We get a lot of students that, well, I think over the last couple of years, we've have a lot of students who have medical issues that take, I don't know, it's a handful of them that like go and try to get their medical and then they have to go through the other stuff with the FAA.
And it's pretty detailed.
Yes.
If you end up in the other processes, they don't let you go lightly.
No. You have to jump through all their hoops, get all their tests. Then they'll ask for more tests. And you thought, I'm done. I'm good. I should be good. This should be good enough. Nope. They're going to have more tests.
And certified paperwork.
Yes.
It's so much that a lot of the people that enter that process never come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of them do end up giving up, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's sad. Because the issues they have are probably fine.
Right.
Really medically, like they'd probably be okay.
Yeah. But because of all the extra that they have to go through, and a lot of times it's not just going see one extra doctor and getting their opinion. It's going 3 states over, talking to this doctor because he's on the list of approved people, and then going over here and getting something else done. And
yeah, it is miserable. But yeah, so we have many hats as an instructor. Yes. But yeah, it makes you a lot better pilot.
Yeah, because those students ask you questions that you never thought to ask yourself.
Yeah, knowing that, having the more knowledge, but also being able to find the answers, and knowing where to look, that kind of thing. Yeah, right. and you're not learning all that when you're getting the rating.
Yeah,
you're just trying to get it. You're just trying to get the info, and you're trying to fly, and you're just trying to do it all.
Yeah, there's so much out there that. There's a brand new CFI. There's no way you could actually know it all.
Yeah.
There's just way too much. That's like comparing, the teacher that's been teaching for 40 years versus someone that just started teaching. When you've seen all the additional questions and different ways students can ask things.
I still get questions that I'm like, I don't know. I've never been asked that before.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. I'm going to have to look that one up, even though I've been doing it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But you know where to look.
Yeah, that's right. I know where to look.
Know how to deal with it. And if nothing else, you can always make a phone call.
Phone a friend.
Yep. Somebody's going to know.
Yep. Phone a friend.
So, yeah.
Any advice?
Don't be afraid to go at your own pace, but also momentum is incredibly powerful. As you get going, the faster you get going, the easier it is to keep going. If you get into it, start off at a pace that you're comfortable with, but don't be afraid of going faster and sticking with it.
Yeah.
Try your absolute best not to get too distracted with other things. Don't overload yourself too, because once you get overloaded, something's got to give. And for me, unfortunately, for a little while there, aviation was what had to give.
Yeah.
That was a result of me overloading myself.
Too much stuff at one time.
Too much to study, too much homework, not enough time in the day.
But you finished with honors.
Yes. Got the ropes and everything.
Yes. Oh, you got
Yeah, I got ropes.
Oh. Fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Just keep going.
Chugging along.
Yep.
How do we end this thing again? Chugga, 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 chugga. Choo-choo!
Flight Tales, woo-woo.
If you made it this far, you listened to the entire episode. And for that, we would just like to say thank you, and we hope you enjoyed it. We would also like to thank John for being on today's episode and sharing his story. If you have any questions about today's episode or suggestions for future episodes, just leave a comment or message us, and we'll do our best to answer. If you'd like to check out some fun aviation videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Owens Flight Training. Or if you'd like to get more information on becoming a safe, knowledgeable, and confident pilot, just head over to our website, owensflighttraining.com.